In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, hi, everybody. He didn't say one, but I mean I guess that's how you're supposed to do it.
Why not?
But
There's going to be a lot of that.
this is going to be a very loose episode, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another CNR Sidebar, and we've only done one other of these. So if you're confused, CNR Sidebar is a way that Eddie and I here on Cranked and Ranked can do episodes about whatever the fuck we want. It doesn't always have to be ranking a discography or albums of a year or whatever the fuck we're doing. This leaves us open for any kind of conversation about anything that we decide that we want to spend a long time talking about. And of course, it had to come around eventually to talking about Wayne's World, because I think that out of all of the things that get mentioned on episodes of Cranked and Ranked, probably the number one thing is Metallica. They seem to come up all the fucking time.
Yeah.
But we've done plenty of episodes on Metallica. But the other thing is Wayne's World, constantly quotes and other things, which for those of you in the video side of things, Eddie has his hat, which is great, because I don't have one of those hats. I had one back in the day and I have no idea what happened to it, but I brought all of my Wayne's World related paraphernalia, whatever, products.
Nice.
So that's what this is going to be. It's going to be just us chatting for a while about, we're going to talk about both Wayne's World movies, but the first Wayne's World movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably when it comes to that kind of comedy, to me, it's my favorite. It's I don't know. It's aged remarkably well for me, because there are a lot of movies that were like really big for me when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, whatever. And now I watch them and I go, didn't age very well, or that's not done as well as I thought it was done, or whatever. But Wayne's World is not one of those movies. It is held up for me very well. But before we get into that, we'll talk all about that and every little peripheral thing we can fucking throw in. But introductions as usual. Old head with me as always, Eddie Sparxx.
With you as always is Garth.
which I was telling Eddie that, like, now the way that we look on the video, because he's got the Wayne's World hat on and I've got blonde hair, so now he's the Wayne to my Garth, which is fine, because we really our podcast is kind of like Wayne's World if Garth was like 40 years or 20 years older than Wayne, but but anyway, but before we get into that, because we always do, when one of us goes to a concert, we kind of do an update just for the hell. And I'm wearing my Carcass t-shirt, if you see.
Nice.
It's because I this last Tuesday I went to go see Carcass and Obituary, and there was a headlining band called Amon Amarth, and I didn't even stay for them because there were dudes walking around with like fucking horn hats on and stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna get stupid. But that's not why I went. I went to see Carcass mostly, but also the fact that I got to see Obituary, that was thrown in. That was a nice treat as well.
Yeah,
but it was a really cool show, because like I'm an older guy and I have a family and I have responsibilities, and so usually like I love it when I can get out to a show and get back by like my normal bedtime, which normally I'm laying down trying to sleep by 11. 11's probably like the late night for me during the week. But it was one of those shows where I walked in the door. It was supposed to start at 6:30. I walk in the door about 6:45. Cattle Decapitation is already playing to a really big crowd. I was happy for them. I'm like, because that first band out of four, you think most of the time people are going to be late or stumbling in or waiting in the line for beer. But no,
Yeah.
they had a very nice crowd. They sounded awful, not performance wise, but the mixing of them was so. I don't know, and I don't know what the drummer has his snare tuned to, but it was the worst. It's like it's one of those snare sounds that like I guess a lot of people would give a pass to, but I was just like, why does it sound like that? Why does it sound like you're hitting it with a dildo or something? I don't know. Very like it was off-putting. Anyway, but they were fine. But then like they literally, I saw a tweet earlier in the day or a Facebook post or something from Obituary saying we'll be going on at 7:15. So literally like cow decapitation and I move my way as close up as I possibly can. 7:15 on the fucking dot, Obituary comes out and fucking plays. And then they sounded fucking amazing. And John Tardy's vocals, dude hasn't aged a bit vocal wise. Nice. Sounds amazing. And they played, I was a little bummed out that they only played one song from Cause of Death, and that was Circle of the Tyrants, which is the cover of the Celtic Frost song. So I'm like,
wow.
Okay, whatever. And then they didn't play anything off of Slowly We Rot. They played one song off of Incomplete, and then they played Don't Care off of World Demise. Everything else was like a couple songs from Inked in Blood, and then from the newer album, and then they played that brand new song as well. That was a lot of rambling. Anyway, but they played it had to have been maybe 30-minute, maybe 40-minute set, but they literally like took their shit down, and like it was like 50 people all go, and like everything is just immediately switched out to Carcass. Wow. And I think we waited like 15 minutes between bands, and Carcass came on, and
it's like a Formula One pit stop.
It was,
when they take the wheels off, like,
yeah,
new wheel, go.
Exactly. Yeah. And normally, like, even when, the crew is really quick to switch out a band, you still end up waiting like 30 minutes for a fucking band to go on. But I think once everything was set up, we waited like 10 minutes, and then Carcass came on and fucking blew me away as usual. But they played a tight, like, maybe an hour, and then they were out of there. And then I went to go get a t-shirt, and there was no line in the t-shirt line. I bought a t-shirt. I got in my Uber. I came home. I was home before 10.
Wow.
Like that is a fucking score of a show right there, man. I saw two bands I really wanted to see, and it was stress-free. Nobody recognized me, which is like I keep waiting for that day that somebody's going to be like old head, because there's a whole lot of metal dudes there.
Well, you were spoilt by the Sacred Reich show where, Phil Rinn pointed you out in the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. There were a couple moments where, because I got pretty close for Carcass, and there were a couple moments where Bill Steer kind of like looked at me a couple times, like, and it looked like he was looking right at me. I was like, well, I think he's the guy that runs their social stuff, and he's reposted stuff I've done. So I was like, did Bill Steer recognize me?
Possibly.
So I'm just gonna say he did. So
nice.
Anyway, great show. So like a little update for that, because I rarely go to shows, which is weird because like it's usually few and far between for shows. But then this next Saturday, I'm going to see King's X. So there's a lot happening. It's only because the King's X show has been postponed 3 times from like 2 years ago. So finally it's happening. Anyway. That was my show update.
Nice.
But on to our shit, our amazing chemistry. That is something you'll think. There were 2 things that when we did the last episode of Old Bollocks that Howard said that you'll like. Number 1, he said that I do a show with a guy who sounds like he's from Bristol, way of LA.
I still need to watch that episode, but yeah, that makes complete sense.
But then he said, and this was a really sweet, because Howard is a guy that he can piss people off. He's never a guy that's gonna like be super sweet about stuff, but occasionally he throws me some nice compliments. And he said that the vibe between you and I is so good it makes him a little jealous. And I'm like, well, that's very sweet.
Nice.
Because we have a fucking great vibe. Everybody says so.
We need to get him on for a three-way cranked and ranked 100%, or a
Okay.
sidebar at least. We
Well,
got to do something.
I'm sure we could do that. I can talk him into talking about something. We'd have to find something that would be in his wheelhouse that we know he would just go off on. Anyway, but
Top
yeah,
five
that's
worst fucking things you've ever heard.
he'd be like, only five.
Yeah.
But yeah, but back to the CNR sidebar, the business at hand, talking about Wayne's World, just Wayne's World in general, because we'll talk about both movies, but Wayne's World itself. If you need to cut me off at any point, please do, because I feel like I'm going to talk a lot. So just kind of hold up a finger if you have something to interject, and I'll stop, because I feel sometimes I just go off, especially when I'm talking about things like this. But Wayne's World was like a big thing for me before the movie came out, because I was a really big Saturday Night Live fan.
Yeah.
So much so that Saturday nights, around that time when I was like 13 years old, Saturday nights would be split. Once it became 10:30, you were going back and forth between Headbangers Ball and Saturday Night Live. And depending on the quality of either one or who the host was on either one, you would spend more time on one than on the other. But if there was like a Wayne's World sketch or really anything with Mike Myers, I was stopping there because I really liked Mike Myers.
Yeah.
And I remember that I have a vivid memory of being in typing class. I had a typing class that was like first period, and I was in the 8th grade. And we had a thing in school back then, and I don't know if they have it now even here, but it was called Channel 1. And so each of the classrooms up on like the high up on the wall, you had a TV. Wasn't even very big, maybe like a 10-inch, not 10-inch, maybe like a 32-inch or something on the wall. And in the morning before class started, there would be like school announcements or whatever. But then they would show this show that was like shown, I guess, across the country at schools, called Channel 1. And it was like a news show for kids, but not like kid news. They would literally talk about like the war in Iraq, but they would like present it in a way, I guess, that younger kids could like grasp what's going on and give them the important information.
Yeah.
But during the show, they would have like regular ass commercials, like, who wants Trident? I do. Like that would come, that would come out. But they had I'm sitting in typing class, and the commercial for Wayne's World comes on during typing class. Nice. I'm just like, they made a fucking movie? And I was just like, so like, all of my friends, I'm like, we're seeing this fucking movie. And so me and one of my best friends at the time went that opening night, Friday night, to the theater, because there was like, there's no way I'm going to fucking miss this movie. And of course, like 13-year-old me, because this came out in February of 1992. So I was almost 14, but not there yet. But I saw the movie and it just blew me away. It was like the best movie I had ever seen in my life. And it felt like it was made for me. Like it was one of the first movies I remember seeing where I'm all like, I feel like they kind of knew what I wanted and they put it in a movie. And I was so excited about it. I think it was the next weekend, I brought my older brother to come see it. The next weekend, I brought my mom to come see it. The weekend after that was my birthday weekend, and a whole bunch of my friends and I all came into the theater and went to go see it together. At that point, the movie for me had kind of become like Rocky Horror Picture Show. So I was like headbanging along with the guys, and I was saying lines, really fucking annoying people. And I remember that I was so stoked about that movie, I smuggled in a tape recorder just to record the sound of the movie so I could watch it later or listen to it later. And even then, I saw it 2 more times in the theater after that. Like I was completely obsessed with the movie. And there was a day that me and one of my good friends went to go see like an afternoon showing of Wayne's World. And at this point, he had also seen it many times. And he came in his Wayne's World hat, and he looks kind of like Wayne. He has black hair. a little bit long, and then I have blonde hair and I'm wearing a Wayne's World shirt, and we walk up to the counter at the movie theater and we're like, can you guess what movie we want to go see? And this dude just looked at us like, who are these fucking pricks? So we went to go see it again, and then once again we're doing this whole thing where we're ruining the movie for everybody else because we're yelling stuff and cheering and rocking out in our seats and stuff like that. But anyway, that's how big of a deal this movie was for me. Like I was obsessed with it. And so that was, 1992. So clearly you saw it at least 20 years later, if not more.
Yeah, for me, first time I saw it, I was about 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
2008. So
Okay.
16 years later.
Okay.
But that's fucking wild to think about in itself, because the movie is now 30 years
30.
old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think like when I saw it, that was like half its life ago,
Yeah. And was it a thing that you knew of already, or did you stumble upon the movie somehow?
Well, I'd already seen the Bill and Ted movies, and I loved them.
What's the same way for me, because Bill and Ted, well, the first Bill and Ted, I guess the first two Bill and Teds had already come out by the time Wayne's World came out. So of course I was ready for something like this. But yeah, that's a good path to go on.
Yeah, so basically a friend of mine said, "Hey, have you seen Wayne's World? You'd fucking love it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." We sat down, we watched both movies back to back.
Oh, nice.
And it was one of those holy shit, this is my new favorite thing moments, And a couple, like about a year later, I would get into, rock and metal and that. And this was a good kind of guide for me. And
yeah.
Part of the reason I ended up gravitating towards this kind of style and genre of this era so much is because of Wayne's World and and Bill and Ted.
Wow. Yeah.
But
yeah, because when Bill and Ted came out, I was younger, so that was 88, I think, when that movie came out. So I was 10, and I loved that movie, and I loved the second one even more when it came out, because I think at that point I had actually become a rock kid. And so right. Yeah, that's why Wayne's World was so potent for me, because I'm just like, this is a movie made for young rock kids, and it's like that it me, as the young people say. But yeah, I brought like all of my shit. I don't know where to even begin. I'm gonna start at the most important part. A VHS of Wayne's World I have with me. Now I
also have one of those.
This is special though, because if you look at the back of it for the video watchers,
instead
of a barcode, it has a McDonald's logo, because for a little while in 1992, McDonald's was selling select movies. I think they only did like maybe 3 or 4 movies that you could buy at McDonald's. And this is a McDonald's VHS of Wayne's World.
I can't begin to express to you how much I love that. Like that's so aesthetically pleasing to me.
I know.
I can't even begin to put it into words.
And that's because McDonald's was also a really big part of me growing up, not because I necessarily loved the food there, because I wasn't like a kid that always wanted to go to McDonald's, but it just so happened that there was a McDonald's walking distance from my house. So the number of times that we just on the way to the mall or on the way to see a movie, we would stop by McDonald's and get a soda or an ice cream cone. Or if they were promoting a movie, it'd be like, ooh, we're going to get the new Batman Returns cups. Maybe we'll get Batman this time. Ah, shit, it's Catwoman again. And that was my life there. So yeah, so McDonald's having the Wayne's World movie is just pretty amazing. And that just added to me, getting the and I watched some of this last night on VHS, and I hadn't watched the VHS version in such a long time. And you forget that, movies were all cut down to be a square. Yeah. Like there's no letterbox, there's no widescreen. It's they literally like do a version of the movie where they cut the sides off and you're just seeing the middle square of the movie. And there's something so nostalgically pleasing about that for this particular movie. Now, if you try to like be like, oh, let's go watch Terminator 2 on, I'd be like, no. I want the whole fucking picture for Terminator 2. But for some reason with Wayne's World, I was just, that's why I thought of it, because you got that cool Terminator 2 shirt. Also from 1992, correct? Was that
91.
91. Oh, shit.
But there is a Terminator 2 reference in Wayne's World, so it all comes together.
You're correct.
Have you seen this boy? Ah!
That got such a fucking major reaction in the theater every time, because everybody saw Terminator 2. So as soon as that you saw that dude's face, you're like, holy shit, it's the T-1000. But yeah, there was something just so great. It almost makes me feel like I don't know if I ever want to watch Wayne's World full screen or widescreen ever again. I feel like anytime I want to watch it, I'm just going to put on the VHS because it felt so right. You know, and an interesting thing, we can dig into this movie now. This is not skipping too far into the movie, but I literally heard something in the movie I had never heard before last night when I watched it. And it's maybe because I wasn't paying attention or the mixing on the VHS is different, so it stood out. But the scene where Wayne first talks to Cassandra, it's Loud Love by Soundgarden playing. And I never heard that before. I don't know why.
You know what's funny? I knew that was the exact thing you were going to say because I had that exact same experience one time.
Yeah.
Well, mine came from, because I'm a complete nerd for this type of stuff. I bought the Wayne's World soundtrack on CD, and I was surprised that Everything About You by Ugly Kid Joe isn't on it because it was a huge song in 1992.
Yeah.
And it's in the movie, and it's in a pretty memorable part, the scene where they go into Stan Mikita's Donuts for the first time.
Yeah.
But I had a look, and Loud Love is only on certain versions, apparently.
Well, I have the vinyl of the Wayne's World soundtrack, one of the many things that I brought with me today, and it's not on here. And originally, back in the day when I bought the CD version of this, it also wasn't on there. Loud Love or Everything About You. This is a cool repressing because one of the records is blue,
nice,
and one of them is pink. So that's
again another aesthetically pleasing choice.
Exactly.
Yes,
it's a great soundtrack. That is one thing that was interesting about the music on Wayne's World is that I was already a pretty big Queen fan, and I remember some of my friends, at least one in particular, would always complain that they thought that Bohemian Rhapsody was a really awful song. And then once that movie came out, everybody's fucking mind changed. And all of a sudden that song is on the fucking radio. Like so much so that you'd be driving around at night, and I think around 7:00, the alternative rock station would play like the top 10 songs in the country. And I'm pretty sure for a little bit there, Bohemian Rhapsody was number one, above Nirvana and all this other shit. And that's pretty amazing right there.
I don't know if it's on your VHS, but the VHS I've got starts with the music video for Bohemian Rhapsody with clips of the movie interspliced in with it.
Yeah, I've seen that version of the video. They played that on MTV for a little while.
Yeah.
No, the beginning of this has a trailer for a movie that I don't even remember called 1492. apparently about Christopher Columbus. But it says it's directed by Ridley Scott. I'm all like, oh, was this like a really good movie? And I don't even remember it. And then the second thing on there is so funny because it's all of a sudden you see Arsenio Hall and he's all like, AIDS is an epidemic. And it pans back and it's him and Magic Johnson. And Magic Johnson's like, anybody can get AIDS, but clearly Magic Johnson. And then it's basically them saying, AIDS awareness. You need to know how you can get it, and more importantly, how you can avoid it. So purchase this VHS all about AIDS. And I'm just like, who the hell's gonna go get a VHS about AIDS? Like, I mean, maybe it was intended to be for, maybe they thought that teachers were going to be showing this in school, like on those days where the teacher can't be bothered to to teach and they play a movie, and then they might get a copy of the AIDS video for school. I have no idea. Either way, I was just happy to see Arsenio Hall. So I'm just like, hey, dude, what's up? And but that's it. There's no other extras, unless there's something after the movie ends that I don't remember seeing. But it doesn't say that there's anything special on this version. It's just McDonald's, you know.
Fair.
The McDonald.
So let's have a look at the track listing for the soundtrack a moment.
Yeah.
So we have, starting it off, obviously, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Why, God?
The back cover is great. Bohemian Rhapsody, yeah.
Yeah. Hot and Bothered by Cinderella.
Great song.
Great fucking song. In actual fact, I'm going to go ahead and say that is my favorite Cinderella song.
It's up there for me. It's really good.
And, like, I feel like that is one of few songs where I genuinely remember the bass line more than I do the actual guitar riff.
Yeah.
Because in the movie, like, the guitars are like scooped out in the background, but you can hear the bass really loud.
Yeah.
So you get that boom, 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 doom, 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 doom. And I remember when I heard the song the first time, I was like, when is this in the movie? And I had to kind of listen for a little bit. And then I was like, oh, this is the one in the nightclub where Stacy and the guy that looks like a glammed out James Hetfield falls through the ceiling.
And then drink. Yeah, he had to get a drink, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, sorry, we had some dead air there.
That's all right.
Then we get another one that I had to really listen for because it's mixed kind of funny in the background in the movie, but Rock Candy by Bullet Boys, originally by Montrose.
Yeah, that's because I remember, like, very recently I hadn't heard this version of this song in a while, and when it started, I went, "This is somebody else's song, right?" And I had to look it up, and I was like, "Yeah, it's Montrose."
I remember I remember the first time like I properly heard this version of the song, and when I lived at my old house, like I won't say where said old house is, but it was like an ex RAF military town that a lot of Americans lived in during some point in the past. We built it for the Yanks, we did, but it had a very American suburb kind of vibe. So when I lived there, it was like genuinely hopping in the Mirthmobile and driving around Aurora, Illinois.
Nice.
So it's like I was a fucking menace because I would crank that shit, all windows down, like coming back from work, and they were like, "Oh, he's home." Dreamweaver, which a re-recorded version of the Gary Wright song.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it says here.
I don't think I've ever even heard the original then, because I think this version's the only one I've ever heard.
It's the original to me. Sickamicanico by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And that, if you're going to talk about a song making me upset about a band, it's when I hear that song and I go, oh, why can't they do things like this anymore? like this is like the Red Hot Chili Peppers that I love, where you're just like, what the fuck is this song? Exactly. That's what you should be saying.
And like it has like a weirdly thrashy chorus. Like I could hear Forbidden playing shit like that. It's like a proper kind of like skank beat thing going on. Of course, we get Time Machine by Black Sabbath. With a newly reunited Dio lineup. And it's a slightly different version than the one that appears on Dehumanizer.
Didn't we talk about this on the ranking? I think I like this one better than the one on the album.
I do too. I think this one's a little more driving. I think it's got slightly better lyrics. You get the Wayne's World theme about halfway through, which seems funny to put it here because I would have thought the end credits song they'd stick at the end, but
I've always thought that for the most part, sequencing of soundtracks is so weird to me, because I've always thought that if you're a really big fan of a movie and you buy the soundtrack, why not put the songs in the order so it feels cinematic in the way that they're playing out? But so
Yeah.
many soundtracks put weird songs in weird places. I'm like, why would you do that? But well, somebody somewhere smarter than me is the one planning those things out.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's a pull a name out of a hat kind of deal. um, what else we got? Ballroom Blitz. Now here's the thing, and I'm going to say this now.
Okay.
I feel cheated that Tia Carrere's cover of Private Life's Touch Me never got officially released because that's my favorite song Crucial Taunt do in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, won't you touch me?
Yeah. And man, she's a killer singer, isn't she?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. And she had and has a music career. Like, she does music. So it's like, but that was a thing that always felt like an added bonus in the movie because there were so many movies where you had like a singer or somebody and it was always them miming to somebody else's voice. And this in this particular, case, it was her miming to her own voice. She had recorded the fucking songs herself. So that's pretty sweet.
But yeah, cycling back to Ballroom Blitz, it's a cover of The Sweet or
The
Sweet.
Sweet.
Or, yeah.
The other night I saw the video for the Crocus version of Ballroom Blitz. So, and I'm all like, how many fucking bands covered this song?
It's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. We have the iconic Foxy Lady from the Foxy Lady hip thrusting scene.
From fucking Hendrix, the man. He was.
Why didn't you just go talk to her? Yeah. I've never tried that approach, but it feels like a tried and true method.
I think these days the pelvic thrust sort of thing that could probably get you in trouble these days. I mean, I don't think that you don't walk up to a woman, doing pelvic thrusts, unless you
don't walk up to a doing pelvic thrusts.
That's true. I'm gonna err on the side of caution when it comes to that.
And I'm gonna plead the fifth. Then we get "Feed My Frankenstein." I'm gonna say it. Favorite Alice Cooper song. I fucking love this song.
It's a great song. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's a good one.
I just feel like everything down to the riff, the weird little kind of stuff going on in the solo. I just thought it was always a really cool, quirky, great for Halloween kind of song.
Yeah.
Ride With Yourself by Rhino Bucket, which appears very shortly in the movie.
Well, fun fact about that band, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy that currently is the engineer that works with Metallica, and he did Hardwired to Self-Destruct. He was in Rhino Bucket, if I remember right.
Greg Fiddleman?
No.
No, he's the producer, isn't he?
I can't think of his name right offhand, but whoever produced or engineered Hardwired to Self-Destruct, he's a guy that you see his name on all the Metallica stuff now. Whenever there's the Vinyl Club stuff, he's the guy that's mixed it. But I don't know. That
guy. Okay, next up we got Lovin' Your Lovin'.
Worst song on the whole fucking soundtrack. Fuck Eric Clapton. I'm not Eric. It's so great because I've spent so much of my life not liking Eric Clapton, and then over the recent couple years where he's just been outed as like an awful person, I'm like, see, I told you. When I think somebody sucks, it's going to come around, and everyone's going to agree. Anyway,
well. I pray you never say that to me because you seem to be like you've got a big red button on people's careers.
Well, no, he's still doing perfectly fine. He has plenty of fans and plenty of people who disagree with me and are able to separate the art from the artist. In his particular case, I always hated his art anyway. So
damn.
And Cream is only okay. All right, so there you go. Yeah. Anyway, bringing us back to Tia Carrere for the ending here.
Yes, we've got "Why You Want to Break My Heart." originally recorded by Dwight Twilly,
Okay.
best known for the top 20 hit singles "I'm on Fire" and "Girls."
I they okay. Speaking of that, while we're on that note, another Wayne's World related goodie that I have
Okay.
is this right here.
Nice.
Tia Carrere Ballroom Blitz 12-inch single. And it also has on side B, it's got Rock Candy by the Bullet Boys and Why You Want to Break My Heart by Tia Carrere.
Nice.
And it's like yeah, so it's almost like her little single. This was a European thing. Like there's no US version of this that I could find. So I'm assuming that I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next thing I have to talk about, which is the last piece of vinyl I brought, because it's kind of related to this, because I feel like the movie was massive in Europe, especially in Germany. And that's because I have this. Which, if you look at it, it says excellent dance mixes by Wayne and Garth of Wayne's World. So this is a fucking weird 12-inch because it's presented like side A says Wayne and Garth, the Wayne's World theme remix by Blackprint. So when you hear like the name of a song and you see remix, you would imagine that there are elements of that song in this song. There are not. It is literally a generic dance song, not even in the same key as the Wayne's World theme, a completely unrelated musical piece. And there are German people pretending to be Wayne and Garth. So it literally in between, in the there's a guy that goes, "All right, it's time for Wayne's World." and then you hear like things in German, and you're like, well, what are they saying? And I was like, is this from the German dubbed version of Wayne's World? Where, because even the parts where they go extreme close up, it's a German dude doing a thing, you know? And it makes no sense.
This literally sounds like, now here's my here I am chiming in with my generation's contribution here. There is a radio station in GTA San Andreas called SFUR, which stands for San Fierro Underground Radio. And it is, it's a late 80s, early 90s house music thing, with like the Frankie Knuckles stuff, the Chicago house stuff. It's all over it, right?
Yeah.
It's massive songs of its day in its genre. It's literally hosted by this like funny German guy. And it just sounds like you just described the prototype for that entire thing.
Maybe so.
That could be a secret link we have uncovered between.
I don't know who Blackprint is, and I wasn't able to find any information on this. But so it's got that, and then it's got the actual Wayne's World theme, just so it can tell you right away. Look, this bullshit. It's not even a remix. And it's not even a good dance song. It almost seems like it's a leftover that somebody in the studio had. Side B, another remix of that first song with the same, okay, time for the Wayne's World, kind of things going on. And then
this is bizarre.
And then the very last song is just by Blackprint, and it's called Party On. Is it related at all to Wayne's World? No, it's another generic dance song from the 90s with just and it's like, it's the most bizarre thing. That's literally they keep playing those clips, and then they have like two guys going Wayne's World party time, excellent, and they're two voices, but they're not Mike Myers and Dana Carvey. It's there's two things pop in my head. I go, okay, well maybe they couldn't get the rights to the sounds, and so in the studio they just recreated some stuff, or what my thoughts are, and I like this better. The movie was so massive in Germany, but the massive version was the German dubbed version. And so they just took German dubbed versions of lines from the movie and put it into this completely unrelated dance song. And when I got this, I expected it to be kind of lame, but it went lame in a way that went right back around to being awesome. So I'm just like, because I had no idea what it was. I just saw it on Discogs and I said, "This is weird. I'm going to order this," and it delivered. It was the best. I didn't spend a lot on it. The shipping cost more than the goddamn record did. But yeah. Anyway,
I am truly speechless. I have like I'm not surprised it exists. I'm maybe I am, but I am enamored by that.
if somebody out there knows like who is Black Print and if you have any information, because I Googled it and I couldn't find any actual details on what the song is. And they didn't release a Wayne's World dance mix in the US. So that movie must have been massive over there, which is great. I mean, whatever. It's more money for the people that made it. I mean, the movie was very successful. I guess at that point, is that the most successful Saturday Night Live related movie ever? I think, because I know that I think before that, the only other Saturday Night Live related movie that had ever come out was The Blues Brothers, which was like 10 years prior to that.
Yeah.
And that was successful. But then it's like Wayne's World came out. That was also successful. And they're like, hey, let's do all these other ones. And then there was a whole bunch of disasters after that for Saturday Night Live.
Well, here's the thing I wanted to mention as well about the soundtracks is that there is such a massive seismic shift stylistically between this one and Wayne's World 2.
Well, let's hold off on 2 though.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I was going to say let's divide, just for the sake of having some sort of organization to our show. We stick on top. We'll get to Wayne's World 2 and talk all about that one. Because most of the shit that I have is all related to the first Wayne's World.
Okay, cool.
And that's a testament to how massive the movie was. I mean, like I have this book, Wayne's World Extreme Close Up, which is almost like a coffee table, like just little joke things in there. Like this is like top 10 terms used in hockey that sound dirty. Number 10, on top of the crease. Number 9, spearing. Number 8, high sticking. Number 7, penalty box. Number 6, power play. Number 5, dump and chase. Number 4, wrap around goal. Number 3, slipped it between the pads. Number 2, putting your hands on a girl's breasts. Number 1, puck. But it's all stuff like that. It's all just like, and then a page that just says "not" on it.
You've just triggered a memory, and I need to go grab it a second. You keep them entertained with the coffee book a minute, and I will get this.
Yeah. So
piece of memorabilia.
Yeah. Soon after the movie got really big, they just quickly put out this is actually pretty good, the page that I just found here, because this is Wayne's World top 10 albums. This is perfect for Cranked and Ranked. So Eddie's already coming back with what he's got, but I'm gonna clue him in on what I found. So he's got to put his headphones back on. He's having a little bit of technical difficulty. There we go. I found something very appropriate for our show.
Yes.
Wayne's World top 10 albums.
Very
appropriate. So here are the Wayne's World top 10 albums here on Cranked and Ranked.
One second. Sorry, the hat.
He's adjusting
doing
his
some
hat.
bed shitting.
The hat is very important, so we have to make sure it stays in place. Okay.
Yes.
So top 10 albums according to the Wayne's World book. Number 10, Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell. I mean, Meatloaf is in the movie. He's the door guy that says Jolly Green Giants and Shitty Beatles. Shitty Beatles,
are they any good?
They suck.
Then it's not just a clever name.
I love that so much. Number 9, Sweet, Desolation Boulevard, which I guess that's what has Ballroom Blitz on it. Number 8, Alice Cooper, Hey Stupid. Number 7
at the time.
Number 7, Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic. Obviously, there was already a relationship with Aerosmith because Aerosmith was on the actual Wayne's World sketch on Saturday Night Live. Actually, I have a 12-inch single for the song The Other Side by Aerosmith. And on the B side, they actually have the recorded version of Aerosmith and them doing the Wayne's World theme together. It's on the B side of that. Yeah. So that's pretty sweet. Number 6, you can tell that this is Mike Myers' sense of humor. Number 6, Nana Mouskouri, love songs Greek style, the best of Nana Mouskouri. Nana Mouskouri is the Greek chanteuse who has sold millions of records in Europe. I included her as a sorbet to clear the palate. Here we go. Top 5 albums according to Wayne's World. Number 5, Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy. Number 4, Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti. Number 3, Led Zeppelin, the one with an old man carrying a bundle of sticks on his back. Number 2, the Led Zeppelin box set. Number 1, Aerosmith Pump. So
nice.
Anyway, that's all in this. I'm sure if you go to eBay, ladies and gentlemen, out there, I'm pretty sure you can score yourself a copy of this particular book for probably $5. So,
funny you should mention that, because the very thing I went to go get, it's a little pamphlet.
It's an ad for it.
It's a little pamphlet that came in the Wayne's World box, and like there's a few things in here. I feel like this is like a condensed version of you know, it's got a few things in here.
It's a little teaser.
Yeah, that's I think there's one here. The top 10 coolest Star Treks.
What?
Okay, the one where Spock hijacks the Enterprise and takes it to Talos 4 to save his old captain. Number 9. The one where Bones surgically alters Kirk to be a Vulcan so he can steal the Klingons' cloaking device. 8. The one where they go back in time to Chicago and dress up as gangsters. The one where 7. The one where the guy who played the Riddler on Batman is the half black, half white-faced alien, clearly a metaphor for the racial conflicts of its day. Kudos to the late Gene Roddenberry for tackling this issue. 6. The one where Kirk asks the computer an illogical question that causes the computer to explode. Author's note, I think they did that in a whole bunch of episodes. Kirk asks the computer to define love, and then kaboom. 5. The one where the whole crew is on the recreation planet and whatever they think about appears. So this Irish guy appears and knocks the crap out of Kirk and keeps saying, "Fight me, Jimmy, fight me." Author's note, Garth and I said, "Fight me, Jimmy," to each other for an entire year. 4. The Ricardo Montalban one they made into a movie.
The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. 3. The one where Spock's evil twin has a beard and kills people.
Yep.
2. The one where Kirk is transferred into a woman's body. If I were a woman for a day, I would have done a lot of different things than Kirk did. Just thinking about it, I feel kind of funny, like when you climb a rope in gym class. And number 1, the one where they go back in time to Depression-era New York City and Kirk has to let Joan Collins die, even though he's in love with her, so history won't be changed. And Spock has to wear a stupid wool cap like a gimp so they can't see his ears.
Yeah,
oh man, there's a poetry section. The top 10 albums is in here.
Yeah, there's all sorts of little things in that book, but it is one of those things that you could blow through reading it in an hour or less, you know. But it's when it came out, it was like I was like, just give me all the Wayne's World shit you can give me, and they cashed in on that shit too. Like this, I got this VHS right here, which is like a best of Saturday Night Live, but it literally just says featuring Wayne's World. Like and it has like, I think a couple Wayne's World sketches on it, you know.
Nice.
But I think it's the Madonna one is on there, and there's another one too somewhere on there. I'm probably a couple, but like that was the thing. Like all of a sudden, like, oh, we can, like, you know, there's such a buzz for Wayne's World stuff that whatever it is, throw some Wayne's World on it. This is my last like little fun thing. The Wayne's World not dice game. I have never played this. I just got it because I was like wanting to get all the Wayne's World shit I can get. There's also a board game that has like a VHS that comes with it, but I can't ever find a version of that that's like complete and affordable. But I just remember reading the instructions for this one day, and it made my head hurt. And I just went, okay, I'm not gonna. I'm weird with games. If the game has too many instructions and I've never played it before, I'm just like, I can't be bothered.
Right next to the top 10 albums, real quick, it's got the top 10 party killing songs.
Nice. This should be good. This is
So
join us for this episode where we just read out of the Wayne's World book.
yeah. We've got MacArthur Park by Richard Harris, Free Bird by Leonard Skinner,
Yeah.
8 Hotel California. No, really, it's a great party. I'm just going for a walk. More Than Words, Chick Song by the inappropriately named Extreme. 6 Color My World. Nice flute solo. Not. 5 Loving You by Minnie Riperton. 4 Billy Don't Be a Hero by Paper Lace. 3 From a Distance by Bette Midler. 2
Yeah.
Anything by Toto.
That's unfair.
That is unfair as a big Toto fan, but I did find it funny. And
Yeah.
number one is any disco tune.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing that came with it real quick was it's like a thing for the Ultimate Silver Screen Collection, which seems to be a little pamphlet. I always find like coupon stuff that's like
Yeah.
wildly out of date really cool.
Yeah, try to send that in now.
Yeah, where is it?
You have any of these laying around in the storage room somewhere?
Wow, look at that. It's got the little gift collection. Oh, wow, you put little tokens on it. I forgot I even had this. This is
This is an amazing moment for Eddie Sparxx, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah. I love shit like that. I live for
Yeah. And but
With
that like so much of that humor, like, now that we're in the future where we've lived through, 2 Wayne's Worlds, 3 Austin Powers movies and things like that, you kind of go back and read shit like that and you're like, there's a lot of Mike Myers humor like all over that.
Totally.
Which I like. Like I like even like the movies that people hate by him, the Love Guru. I thought it was pretty fun. There was a thing that Mike Myers came up with recently that I had a blast watching and people hated, and it was called The Pentaverate. It was on Netflix, and it was just like 6 episodes of this fucking wacky show that's just silly beyond reason. Like there's no reason. Like it's one of those shows where like nobody asked for this, but Mike Myers is like, yep, here it is. And I just loved that he just doesn't give a shit. He's not trying to like make anything hip. He just is like, look, I'm Mike Myers. Here's my sense of humor. Would you like some of this? And I say, yes, I would like some of that. If you guys haven't watched it, go check out The Pentaverate. But just don't expect it to like blow your mind. It's literally just silly ass shit for 6 episodes. And it's got Mike Myers playing a whole bunch of different characters and, all the things that you love. But I mean, the whole Wayne's World thing was like it was his creation. He did it like in Canada. He was in, I think he did. I'm like, I don't know if he was in an improv group. Was he part of the Second City? I don't remember if he was or not, but so he brought it to Saturday Night Live, when he started getting traction in Saturday Night Live, and then it fucking became a movie. And then, and then it becomes one of our favorite movies, and here we are fucking talking about it still. It's like 30 years later. But yeah, that movie is just like I said it before. It's aged remarkably well, where I still even laugh at jokes that maybe I didn't laugh at as much when I was younger, and now I laugh at those jokes. Or even just like the performances, just little things here and there, the way that people, because it's such an amazing cast in that movie of people. You've got, I mean, like Rob Lowe in that movie is perfect for that role. He's so, and that was like post Rob Lowe having the very first like sex controversy of anybody. I think that was the first big like Hollywood sex scandal, which I don't, now that I'm thinking about him, I'm like, wasn't he filmed himself having sex with, were they underage girls? Like, should he be canceled? I don't know if they were necessarily underage. I just think that they didn't know they were being filmed or some shit like that. I don't know.
Right.
But he's redeemed himself. I mean, I don't know. You got to forgive people If people become
Yeah.
better people, then you have to allow them to do that. Don't keep bringing up horrible things they did to a degree. Because
Yeah.
like if Hitler had survived and become a better person, I wouldn't be like, quit bringing up the bad things he did in the past.
Yeah.
That is a different story. Rob Lowe just had some sex. Come on.
Yeah, it is one of those things. I'm just gonna say it now. I feel like outright canceling someone like completely,
Yeah,
I feel like that also doesn't um promote growth. I think that just promotes witch hunts.
yeah.
I feel like sometimes it can be warranted to be like, okay, this person's platform is causing direct harm to society. We should maybe look into that. But
I think the way that it gets ruined, and this is the struggle that I have every day, being what some people would negatively call a liberal, but that's what I am. But I'm not on the far left. And so in some ways I am, but in some ways
yeah,
I'm not. And so I think the way that that whole thing is being, it's a good thing. The idea of there being consequences for shitty things you do, I'm all about that,
yeah,
because it's important to have freedom of speech. Especially, in America, it's a big deal. Freedom of speech. And I agree with that. But there shouldn't be freedom from consequences. If you act like an asshole or you do something awful to somebody or say something awful, there should be consequences. But the problem is that people don't know how to assign degrees of punishment to
yeah,
particular things. So it's like one guy says a derogatory thing about a gay person 10 years ago, and they're getting the same treatment that a dude that raped 4 people 2 months ago. And it's like, either way, it's like, no, you just cancel them completely. And I'm like, no, there has to be a degree here. There are some things that
yeah,
you need to let people grow from. And there are other things that you're like, look, you did such an awful thing. You're lucky that you're just going to go on with your life. So just fade into the darkness or whatever. But anyway, isn't it great that we're all better people?
fishing.
Anyway, that was fun. That was a little serious conversation in the middle of the
Yeah.
Wayne's World thing, which they did that in the movies. They would have those moments where they got serious and stuff, and
You'll
just to
laugh,
rip you.
you'll hurl, you'll discuss the morality of man.
Yeah, and that'll be the tagline for this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that the movie itself, like, is just like, it's really, I would like somebody who is brand new to the movie, who is younger, to watch it and let me know, because I still have like a nostalgic feeling when I watch it, but it does feel like it's still very well made, very well performed, very, very well written. Everything about it, the pacing of it is insane. Like, it just moves
Yeah.
along, and it's just got jokes that still fucking hit today, man.
Yeah.
Um, imagine being magically whisked away to Delaware. Hi.
Hi, I'm in Delaware.
It's
Oh
just
man, like
great little jokes.
yeah, and like when you really do look at this cast, I mean it's pretty wild. I mean, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey,
Uh-huh.
Tia Carrere, Rob Lowe, Lara Flynn Boyle
Uh-huh.
as Stacy, Brian Doyle Murray as Noah Vanderhoff.
Which is
Um,
Brian Doyle Murray is Bill Murray's brother.
yeah,
Yeah.
Colleen Camp as Mimi Vanderhoff, Kurt Fuller as Russell Finley.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Farley is in both movies. Now, I have a question.
Sure.
Is it implied that Chris Farley, as he appears in Wayne's World 2, is the same guy as the security guard from the first film? And like they even make a joke like he's gotten a lot better, don't you think, or something like that, like as in he's become a rocker or something. Because he plays a guy called Milton, doesn't he?
I don't yeah, now that you're mentioning it, I don't feel like there was a connection, but And if there was supposed to be, don't you think they would have made it more obvious? Like it would have been like, oh, weren't you a security guard at one point? Or I mean, I guess he was a security guard, and then he was doing security. Maybe he is related. Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, for a security guard, he had an awful lot of information, don't you think?
my favorite small role in that movie, and I hate that I always forget his name, but he's one of the buddies, that's in the car when they're doing Bohemian Rhapsody. But he was the bully in Encino Man.
Encino Man.
And in between those two movies, his comedic delivery, he's so good. Like he's still an actor today, but he's a guy that I think if you go look at his IMDb, he's just been randomly on TV shows and stuff. And I'm just like especially his character in Encino Man, I'm like, that's just so funny and well done. And then the little bits that he has in Wayne's World, it makes me sad that he's not in Wayne's World too, because I'm like, he was just his presence was very funny.
Yeah. What's his name?
I don't remember.
Michael DeLuise.
Yes, Michael DeLuise. Yes. If you're watching Michael DeLuise, which you're not, I'm sure you're not.
Do I frighten you? No. Do you want me to? That line always got me.
Yeah. And I also really like.
Your wife's a babe.
I also like how the other guy that they pick up who's like completely drunk, and they drive around with him. But I love how the very next day he's at work at the car place and he's totally sober. But then flash forward to like a few hours later, he's already drunk again at the recording of their show.
Yeah. When you grow up thinking you're going to be Wayne and you end up as Phil, that's me lately. I'm not gonna lie.
it just makes that line
out, man.
Again. It makes it even funnier because gives you the idea of like, oh, this guy's literally drunk probably. When he says again, he means like every night. He
doesn't remember it either because he's like, they had this mega beat for lead singer. Unreal.
Yeah.
Phil, we were there. Have you gone mental? Hello.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess we can move on to Wayne's World 2. We've spent enough time. It's already been like an hour. We had way more to talk about than I thought. This is great. But Wayne's World 2 came out the next year. Although it was like the beginning of 92 was the first one, and then the end of 93 was the second one. And I was a sophomore in high school, and I was a sophomore in high school. And I obviously was looking forward to this movie like crazy. But I remember prior to the movie coming out, they did like an MTV special where they showed a few clips from the movie. And I remember even at that age being like, this doesn't seem quite as funny. I don't know what's missing here. So I went with my older brother to see that in the theater. Only saw that one in the theater one time because I left the movie a little bit disappointed because there were things that I liked about the movie. And even today, it's grown a lot on me because if you love something so much and they make like another season or another movie of it, of course you're going to enjoy it. But putting them right next to each other, it's not just the jokes of Wayne's World 2 that don't land. It's almost like the editing of the movie is a little bit off to where sometimes there's like uncomfortable silence in the movie, or I'm like, who edited this movie? Because it's like there are jokes that like need to be followed up very quickly by something else in order to feel funnier. I mean, who am I? I'm not an editor, but I just know what I like. But there are some where it's just there's so much like space and it moves a little too slow at times that it's a little bit weird to me. But those things have over the years, that's all fallen away because now I go into the movie and I know what I'm getting and I love it. And it's got all the bits. Like there are jokes in the second movie I think are some of my favorite jokes of both. Like one of my favorite jokes is in Wayne's World 2, and it's so dumb. Always makes me giggle. It's when they're in the office getting the forms, and you've got the home dude that's got two different colored eyes, and they keep accidentally saying stuff about eyes and stuff.
I like to think I have an eye for details.
Yeah. And then so at the very end, Wayne goes, we'll go through this with a fine-tooth comb, cross the T's and dot the lowercase J's. And I was always like, that's fucking genius. But yeah, also it's got the introduction of Del Preston, which you have done a lot of whatever you call them, brain. Boom, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out.
Okay, here we go.
Hi.
Okay. All right. I was in a place like this once, Sri Lanka, formerly Ceylon. We were looking for 10,000 brown M&Ms to fill a brandy glass, or Rosie wouldn't go on stage that night. So, Jeff Beck pops his head round the door and mentions there's a little sweet shop on the edge of town. So, we go, and it's closed. So there's me, Keith Moon and David Crosby breaking into this little sweet shop, right? Well, instead of a guard dog, they've got this bloody great big Bengal tiger. I managed to take out the tiger with a can of mace, but the shop owner and his son, that was a different story altogether. I had to beat them to death with their own shoes. Nasty business, really, but sure enough, I got the M&Ms, and Ozzy went on stage and did a great show.
Oh man, that was spot on, sir.
That's how many times I've seen this movie.
not only that, you mentioned last time that somehow turns your girlfriend on when you do.
You know, man, if it works, it works. You know,
just tell her to just be like, at around the hour and 6 minute mark, go just jump to the video and just if you need to have some alone time with yourself, just pull up that video.
I forgive Wayne's World 2 for, some of its shortcomings as a movie compared to the first movie.
Yeah.
Seeing as, it pretty much guarantees action by the end of its runtime. So
I mean, it has grown on me a lot over the years, but even now watching it, I'm like, yeah, it definitely is a step down. And it sucks because, I think that from all accounts, there was a disagreement between Penelope Spheris, the director of the first one, and Mike Myers. And from what I read, she assumed that he stopped her from getting the gig. I don't know if that's true or not, obviously. But the thing that I thought was fascinating when I read about Wayne's World 2 is that the story of Wayne's World 2 wasn't originally what Mike Myers wrote. Apparently, he wrote some sort of weird movie where Wayne and Garth decide to start their own country. And I'm just like, and apparently what happened was that he based it off like an old movie. And then I guess they had started like pre-production for the movie and then realized that he had just lifted a story from something else, which that sounds very Mike Myers to be like, look, here's this obscure movie. I'm just going to lift the premise and put it on Wayne and Garth. So they ended up like having him scramble to write something new, which ended up being Wayne Stock, which I like it because at least it's just not the same movie all over again. Like they could have, it could have been, they did that a lot back in the day. Like they would make a movie and it would be a hit movie. And then the next movie is just the same movie in a different location. And so
Home Alone 1 and 2.
Yeah, exactly.
For example.
And but with Wayne's World 2, at least it's a different take on the movie. And yeah, it's just more, I think for me, it's just more of a pacing thing. And then some of the jokes don't land quite as much, but it's got jokes that that's the thing that's so fascinating to me about Mike Myers movies, not just Wayne's World, but also Austin Powers, is that they're very popular movies, but 50 years from now, most of the references will make no sense to anybody. Because there's already a reference in Wayne's World 2 that nobody fucking gets, and it's from an old commercial. The part where and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends. That's like an old commercial from I think the 70s or the 80s that even in 1993, I was like, what is this?
I will say though, I feel like that's one of those like weird kind of whoa, what the fuck moments in the movie where like I had no context for that commercial and I laughed my ass off as a kid because I was like, there's so many Waynes, you know?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was
There
like,
was,
yeah,
but he always, even in Austin Powers, has all these pop culture references for the time that some
yeah,
things obviously will remain, in the whatever you call it, in the pop culture mindset of people because
yeah. So I'll
it
make you
carries
horny,
on.
baby.
Well, but that's one of those things too, where like that was, how much is that going to age? And how well is it gonna hold up?
But
But I
here's the
also
thing. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna
no good.
chime in. I was just gonna chime in with that. You know, with the relevance of this thing. There's a Doja Cat song from like 3 years ago where she says, "Do I make you horny, baby?" as a line in one of her songs, and it's like I don't know. I think that one's got some staying power.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I do like that Austin Powers has become like the for a little while it was like the Halloween costume that you're like everyone was doing.
Yeah.
I almost feel like they're it's now become almost ironic in like a really great way that like everyone should just dress up as Austin Powers and Borat, and that should be everybody's Halloween
Yeah.
costumes. Because just
It's
imagine
not
like a
even
scene.
scary anymore. It's just a bunch of goofy goobers walking around.
Yeah, but anyway, but I do have the Wayne's World 2 soundtrack on cassette.
You lucky bastard. That's like the one thing like I don't have yet. I've
And look,
got
it's
two.
blue. It's blue.
Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, yeah.
My I see weird cassette. I like.
And then look, it's got a fold out where
Oh,
it's
hello.
got look. There's Aerosmith, and
Whoa.
then Tia
Oh,
Carrere.
I like
Yeah.
that a lot.
I also have and it's got a Wayne's World hat offer on the inside.
Oh, dude. Is that has it got an expiration date on it? Because I love looking at those. Like when did
Uh,
it go out of date?
6/30/1994.
so so 4 whole years before I was even born.
Yeah, but I also have, and half of them are on my wall, so I can't really show. But I think I told you about this. I ordered movie, what are they called? Lobby cards
Yeah.
for Wayne's World 2, which is like bizarre that those even exist because lobby cards are like a thing from back in the day before they had trailers, and you would just go to a theater and there would be these different lobby cards showing you different scenes from a movie, and you would look at them and go, oh, I think I'm going to go see that one. But they did
Yeah.
lobby cards for Wayne's World 2, and I've got several of them up on my wall.
Awesome.
But that's just one of those things where I'm so obsessed with like with collecting things from these movies. But let's look at the soundtrack though. Hold on, I
Yeah.
don't know if you have it pulled up, but otherwise I gotta
I've
put on
I've,
my glasses.
I've got it right here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, very nice. We both have glasses today.
Well, it's because I can't, when I have to read like things in small print, I have to wear glasses because it's just it's a complete blur.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
you can do it.
if I take my glasses off, I'm fucked. I can't even read the screen. Like,
I almost wish that my eyesight would get bad enough to where I can just have my glasses on all the time, but it's not that bad. So,
yeah, it's a gift and a curse.
all right. So let's run down the Wayne's World 2 soundtrack, which is not as good, but has its moments.
Yeah, it definitely took a more 70s classic rock kind of approach than
And so did the
first
movie, though. Were there any contemporary songs in Wayne's World 2? There was Aerosmith, but that was it.
The ones that were are much more in like the alternative thing than like even heavy. Like you've got Idiot Summer by Gin Blossoms.
Oh, okay. Let's go through it in order.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a stylistic shift. We've got track one is Louie Louie, but a version by Robert Plant. Do we have a different running order?
No, we don't.
Okay.
I'm gonna go along with you just in case.
Okay. Yeah. Next up we have Dude, Looks Like a Lady by Aerosmith.
Classic.
Yep. Absolutely. We got Idiot Summer by Gin Blossoms, which, like, I like the song and I like Gin Blossoms, but
Sure.
when I think of Wayne's World, that's not the type of music I associate with the dudes. I'd
Yeah.
expect, the hard rock heavy metal kind of thing, which is, even the alternative stuff in Wayne's World 1 was stuff like Soundgarden and, if you want to argue Ugly Kid
Which
Joe
is
had some traits.
Yeah, which is weird though, because like this was 1993, so it's not like rock music was out already. No, there was still plenty of
No.
like heavy rock music that was still popular. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's you get Superstar, Superfan, a collective including Chrissy Hind on vocals and musicians from Urge Overkill.
Oh,
Um,
all right.
I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Tune,
Mhm.
absolute tune.
Yep.
Um, Spirit in the Sky, Norman Greenbaum. Now,
I I really like that
great.
song.
See, it's a great song, but again, it's one of those things where it's like, is that stylistically what I think of when I think Wayne's World?
No, but it's
Nah.
prominently in the movie, so it does bring up an image in
Yeah.
your mind of a part of the movie. It is really weird though that there's a song that I thoroughly enjoy that does have a part where they go, "Gonna have a friend in Jesus," because that
Yeah.
because that's not normally in my wheelhouse at all. I'm not a Jesus man. I just look like him.
uh,
Not really
so-
because he's not white.
yeah, yes, yes. Take that, establishment.
Well, he wouldn't have been
No,
if you have to
yeah.
be an idiot to think that he was a white dude.
Oh, a lot of
Sorry,
fucking
I feel
people
like
do.
I've offended like a million people.
I've could do with it. They've had the floor for a long time. Anyway,
That's
like
true.
you know, what do we got? We got Out There
Which
by
is
Dinosaur Jr.
this is now side 2 of the cassette that we're on now.
Yes. Again, it's much more in like the alternative, softer kind of rock
Oh,
vein.
but Dinosaur Jr.
Well,
is heavy.
yeah. I'm talking compared to what the characters of Wayne and Garth I would think.
Yeah, you're right.
Um, Mary's House, Four Non Blondes. Again, it's that thing of oh, what? Again, I like songs by Four Non Blondes, but again, this album ironically feels more dated than the first movie because it's very
You're
much,
right.
you know, is a very much like looking at this soundtrack, I know when this came out,
Yeah.
whereas the first movie, it's like, oh well, that makes sense because that's just good world building. Um, Radar Love, Golden Earring. Now
Yeah.
this
That song fucking rules, man.
yeah, which that's another song that gets covered a lot. I mean, White Lion did one.
White Lion
Which
did.
yeah,
Who? There was somebody else recently that I heard a Radar Love cover. I don't remember. Anyway,
yeah. Either way, it's a badass fucking song.
yes.
Um, Can't Get Enough, Bad Company. I do like this song,
Yeah.
and I'm jealous of Christopher Walken. You got to dance with Tia Carrere
you
like
want me to
that.
say what? Like
Yeah,
I don't get
I
it.
don't get it.
That is the worst Christopher Walken ever. That's my
Oh,
one of my
dear.
another one of my favorite parts. The old man fashioning a kayak out of a log. No.
Oh, was it? What was the thing I'm trying to think of? Like my friend used to do a really good Christopher Walken impression, but like he'd just do like one word sentences. He's like, "I'm not doing the Christopher Walken impression. Go on, do it. I'm not doing it. Go on, do it. No." Just bust.
That is good. That's how unique your voice is. If you can do one word and somebody knows what celebrity you're doing
Yeah.
an impression of.
I'm Christopher Walken. I'm just gonna keep on Christopher Tolkien. Uh, but what have we got here else? What else have we got here? Sorry, I
Next
tripped over there.
next up
Uh,
is Frankenstein. By
Every
Edgar
time,
Winter.
every time the movie starts up, this one, I
Yeah.
grab a beer and I just fucking headbang until the whoa, because you know
Yeah.
you have to usher in this
I
movie with a
also
ritual.
I love how they begin the movie with the weird middle part, with like that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Because I'm like that, as just like the movie fan in me, I'm all like, I love it when music is used in an interesting way to bring you into a movie, and I'm like, that's great. That's a
yeah,
good on them for whoever edited that part.
hell yeah! It works really well as well with the stars and the Paramount thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. That is clever. Um, Shut Up and Dance by
talk
Aerosmith.
is cheap.
Yeah,
Shut
cheap.
up and
Shut up
dance.
and dance.
I like that. That's from that's
Dun,
on
dun, 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 dun,
it's on
dun,
Get a Grip.
dun, dun. Yeah, yeah.
It's a good song.
And you get YMCA on as an uncredited hidden track on some releases.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is like, it's not listed on mine, and then they included a sticker to let you know that YMCA is on here, because I think it was a mistake that it was
yeah.
left
Oh,
off.
oh,
So yeah,
really?
so
Ah,
I do have a tape where it has an extra sticker that says
it's got
also
a it's got
contains
an
YMCA.
it's got an oopsie poopsie sticker on it.
Yep,
Uh,
this is one of those things that if people gave a shit about this soundtrack, this would be worth a lot of money.
Now here's the thing, right? Now we're not the only people that think this, because professional ratings here, we have some review scores for the soundtracks. Wayne's World, music from the motion picture, got 4.5 stars from AllMusic.
Okay,
Wayne's World 2 got 3 stars from AllMusic. And
which is
I
kind of in line with the actual ratings for the movie. If you go look at Rotten Tomatoes,
yeah, um, I love both. I
yeah,
have come to accept that I like one slightly more than two,
which
but even
oh
even
okay,
if you know, if I'm being harsh, I still think Wayne's World 2 is like a 9 out of 10 for me, just solely based on its, you know, it's part two of my favorite movie, you know.
yeah.
um,
It's great. It's just, but I mean, it was a disappointment at the time, but it did. There are a lot of movies from back in the day that I was looking forward to because of another movie, and they weren't quite what I wanted. That as the
yeah.
years have gone by, that's just completely melted away, and it's because, and I guess it's just, it is that thing where it's like, well, if you either have this movie or you don't have it. I'm like, oh well, no, I'll keep that, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's plenty, there's plenty of other things in this world, if gun to my head, I'd get rid of sooner.
But
So
sometimes I think that it's important just to enjoy yourself and not be so critical about shit.
yeah, yeah.
There's I don't know. Very, very recently, there's a sitcom that came out on Netflix called Blockbuster. Have you heard about it?
No, actually.
And it's a show. It's like the people who did, there's a show called Superstore, another show that's called Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it's like the writers
Yeah.
of those two shows. It's kind of they're trying to make a combination of those two shows, and it's not very good
Hmm.
at all, to the point where it's getting a lot of a backlash of like, oh, this is fucking awful. But what I found, I haven't gone through the whole season yet. It's like 10 episodes. I think I've watched 8. Once I resigned myself to the fact that, okay, this is not anywhere near as good as Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is one of my favorite like comedy shows, I think, ever. It's fucking
Hmm.
amazing. And then Superstore was very enjoyable as well. But once I was like, okay, I'm going into this next episode being like, this show isn't very good. Let me just like enjoy myself watching this, because it isn't boring and some of the
Hmm.
jokes are bad. But once I did that, I'm like, I could do with more of this show. And so it's like, that's something to be said about some
Hmm.
things don't need the big critical eye on them, because that's not what they're made for. And I don't think either Wayne's World movie was made for that kind of experience. They're not going to show Wayne's World in a movie, a movie making class in college or some shit, because I mean, maybe they should,
They should,
but
yeah.
but it's not made for things like that. And so I think that that's what happened with Wayne's World 2 for me, is that I kind of just like I let go and I let God, and then
Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie. But yeah.
Yeah.
But and you know
It's
what? Go ahead.
I you say what you need to say because I kind of preempted like I had something to say, but I actually didn't. I'm sorry.
I was actually going to moving on because we're at an hour and a half now, and we've talked about both movies, but I feel it almost feels like with these movies there's so much to talk about and so many parts to talk about that I feel like
Yeah.
this could be a series of episodes. But I feel like we end up talking about parts of the movies in our episodes anyway. And do you know what? One thing that last night when I was watching a little bit of my McDonald's VHS of Wayne's World, there was a point. There's that point in the movie where they're first meeting with Benjamin in the restaurant about them, signing the contracts for Wayne's World. And it's like that part where like Wayne is all like, it sounds like you're saying we're going to get paid for doing Wayne's World. And for some reason in my brain, my thought immediately went to, wait, like Cranked and Ranked is like Wayne's World. Like,
Yeah.
we're essentially just doing this for free. Two dudes that just like hanging out and talking together. And like, wouldn't that be nice if some big wig from a network came around and said, just sign
Yeah.
here. And I'd be like, yeah, you want to do a shitty theme song for my show? You want to have a big neon sign? You want to like have an announcer that goes, and now Cranked and Ranked featuring Eddie Sparxx. I'd be like,
time to party.
so it's like, the whole point of the movie is that like there's, are they selling out? But like my thoughts, I'm like, man, I would love it. I'd sign that shit right away, and you and I become stars, and there would be a. So we are kind of like Cranked and Ranked is kind of like Wayne's World.
Yeah. It's like I've reached a point in my life now where every time I see the opening of Wayne's World 2, I have consistently related to it more and more each time since the age of 10, right? Now I'm an adult, everybody's hassling me to do something with my life, and it's like it's slowly becoming more and more where it's like, damn, like you do feel the pressure of the world being like, it's in your hands now. What do you want to do with it? And it's like, I miss having lecturers tell me where to be.
Yeah.
I
mean, it was rough for me. Like, I've said it probably a lot of times. I don't feel like I was actually mature enough to direct where my life was going in a competent manner until I was 30. And so, and even then, like, I was still kind of like, I don't fucking know. And so like,
you didn't make Mars.
Yeah. But speaking of that, Mick Mars no longer doing shit with Motley Crue. That's kind of I mean, it makes me happy because I'm just like, yeah, dude, let the motherfucker rest. Let Mick Mars live out the rest of his life just enjoying himself. He doesn't need to be trotted out on stage, and because I know he doesn't want to do it. I mean, it's a nice paycheck for sure, but anyway, sorry, that was it. It's a tangent, not like we're opposed to tangents, because clearly that's the entire show. But and that's what CNR Sidebar is. It's literally an hour and a half long tangent.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, I mean, do you have anything that to add for the end here? Because we've gone to a lot of different places with this episode.
Hold up, we don't want to end the podcast like this.
Let's do the mega happy ending.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's do the mega meh ending.
Okay. Right. All right. To the guest gene girl Claudia Schiffer, we salute you.
Wing.
Until next time, party on, Garth.
Party on, Wayne.
It's crank the rank, crank the rank.
So yeah, we'll wrap this up because, but yeah, there is a lot to talk about with these movies, but it's yeah, like I said before, we will be mentioning Wayne's World 1 and 2 forever as long as we're doing Cranked and Ranked. You're going to get little sprinkles of Wayne and Garth in there, and I would be very happy if they did another movie, a la like what they did with Bill and Ted. Which eventually, once you're able to watch that Bill and Ted movie, we'll do an episode on those because I'm not going to let you know how I feel about that movie because I want to have a discussion.
Yes.
But the thing that I do like that they're doing with movies now is they're not like, well, we got to reboot this. I'm like, no. They're characters we love. Everybody gets older. Let's have older versions of those characters. So it's like I realize that Mike Myers and Dana Carvey will look funny in those costumes. I mean, very recently they did like a commercial or something, and I'm like, oh man, they look old. But they could literally make a movie that's appropriate for that and make it really funny. And so I'm just like, maybe they'll do that. I haven't heard anything about him doing it. I've heard that he may be working on another Austin Powers at some point, but
you know what? I feel like the next project for Wayne's World has been sitting under our nose the entire time.
Oh?
What if Mike Myers, Dana Carvey do like a fucking podcast in character? Like Wayne's World radio show. That would be
okay.
I feel like that could work. Like,
I mean, I would enjoy it, but not as much as a movie, but yeah.
I feel like though it would be a very achievable and regular thing, and I think it could go down quite well, like the Wayne's World podcast or some shit. Like
if you guys use that idea,
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like a Ron Burgundy podcast where Will Ferrell does it in character.
Really?
Yeah. Hang on, wait. Let me look that up real quick.
I never heard about that, but that's that would be funny.
Ron Burgundy podcast. Yeah, there's a Ron Burgundy podcast.
It's Will Ferrell?
It's Will Ferrell. Yeah, he reprises his role as Ron Burgundy in the world famous Ron Burgundy podcast. Each episode has a different theme in which Ron engages in a conversation with another notable person. And yeah.
I did not know about that, but I got to check that out now. Is that new? Relatively new?
I think I just found out about it the other day, funnily enough. Let's have a look when this.
That's the beautiful thing about the internet today is you'll discover something that's brand new to you that turns out it's 8 years old.
Yeah.
Or more.
Oldest to newest. Oh, holy shit, this has been going since 2019.
That makes sense.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Well, that's I got to check that out. But yeah, the Wayne's World thing would be cool, but I would prefer a movie or a series of some sort, because like television series have gotten so much better these days. Like some of my favorite shit is been TV shows and not necessarily movies anymore. And I think it's because you have more space to tell a story and to like get acquainted with characters. And I like that. Sometimes things are way too long. Like something that should be 6 episodes is 10 episodes. But sometimes when they nail something like that, it's better than any movie in my opinion. But once again, there's people that love movies, and I love a lot of movies, but they're all from the similar time period as Wayne's World. most of my favorites are from the late 80s and early 90s, but I'm sure eventually we'll hit on some other ones on another episode of CNR Sidebar. But that's all. We don't need to keep you guys here anymore. We appreciate it. The peanut butter platypuses of the world, and I'm excited now because Eddie's getting a guitar. But for those in the podcast world, but you're all peanut butter platypuses, and we thank you for watching CNR Sidebar. We'll be back next week with another ranking of another band or artist, and no hints beyond that because it's going to be fun. But yeah, this is the end of the episode, and I'm gonna keep talking because he's tuning his guitar. And the last thing we would want is for the ending of the episode to be out of tune. How are we looking? We in standard tuning there?
Wait, one sec. Okay,
Whoa.
slightly poorly tuned, but and
what
also,
key is that in?
it's missing a string, and this is my guitar. This is I have two guitars. This is the one that is in desperate need of some care.
It looks cool.
Yeah, it's a blue Dean ML.
Oh, it's got a Cranked and Ranked sticker on it that you guys can order if you go to my YouTube channel and go to my store, and you can get a mug that looks like this. You can't see it on the podcast side, but you can go order things. Anyway, all right. That enough bullshit. Let's get to the part that everyone always waits for, and that is the ending of the episode. And I throw it over to Mr. Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
What one more bullshit? Just real quick. While it's on my mind, I started playing the intro to a Crab song.
Yeah.
Where are you going? Stay out! I was kidding. Come back.
This is great.
Okay, right. Okay.
Fuck you, I'll skate to the beach.
To the beach. I'll look better getting there.
All right, once again, we'll redo this. Take two, ladies and gentlemen. I'm throwing it over to Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
Crank the rags, party time, later, dude.
And we're out.
All right, excellent.
Woo! All right, let's go get some Stan Mikita's donuts.
Hell yeah. I never did a crazy thing in my life until that night.